All right. How's everyone doing? This is John Tilly, the CEO of Zonguru, and I've got a really special guest today in this live stream going out on LinkedIn and YouTube. Stefan Ratchev, my partner in crime and CTO of Zonguru. How you doing, Stefan?
I'm great.
As always, great. Welcome to everyone coming in. So, if you are coming in live, welcome to post questions. This is a Q&A, and I'm going to ask a few questions myself of Stefan. But if you have any, feel free to post those, and we'll answer them live in this session. This is going to be about a 20-minute session. We're going to keep it short and sweet and to the point. I want to tell you what the topic is, and then obviously give a little bit of background around it, and then we'll dive into some of the questions. The topic today is really around search engine optimization for your listing, and then very importantly, how you align that with your PPC strategy. And I think this is something that we've been seeing a lot of late with our customer base of sellers and agencies. We're seeing a re-optimization of existing listings, which everyone is doing as we go into Q4 for this year. Having the most impactful, maximized listing with the most potential is critical. But what we're seeing and the missed opportunity is once there's a re-optimization of a listing, there's a missed opportunity around aligning your PPC strategy with what you've done to your listing. And we're going to go a little bit into detail around the PPC strategy. And the perfect person to have on this for this is Stefan. Now, Stefan, as I said, is our CTO on Zonguru, an operational tool set for sellers and agencies. But he is also a seller. So he's been selling very successfully on Amazon for how many years now, Stefan?
Since 2016, so what is it,
Okay.
7 years?
7 years. So, since 2016, and one of his superpowers, is obviously, tech and software and leading our team. But the other superpower is on the Amazon side is, how he uses PPC to scale his revenue. And he's extremely good at that. We obviously have data analytics at a global level on our customer base. And, Stefan consistently performs in the top percentile for PPC around scale, ACOS, tacos, and just really how to run a well-optimized strategic PPC campaign on Amazon. So he's the right guy to talk about this. We're going to jump in now. So again, if you have any questions, please post those here. But Stefan, let's jump in on this now. To paint the picture, we're going into Q4. There's a lot of activity at the moment. We see both in our customer support, but in our data analytics as well around customers optimizing their listings. A lot of them are using our ChatGPT integration to create the baseline. They're finessing it further, but the overall strategy there is to find new keywords, better keywords, have a strategy around SEO and put that into their listing. So they're doing that. That's check one, getting the maximum SEO capability out of their listing. But what we're seeing is that they're missing a potential 2 to 3 week window of tweaking their PPC campaign to make sure that they're driving as much traffic as they can to the right keywords to help reinvigorate the algorithm, trigger the algorithm to start getting better organic rank for some of those keywords. So I want to talk firstly a little bit to your high level strategy around when you are optimizing a listing. What is the PPC strategy that you should align with the optimized listing, and then we're going to dive into the step-by-step process.
Yeah, I mean, at a high level, everything boils down to a conversion rate. And how do you maximize your conversion rate? Conversion rate is the number one thing Amazon looks at, along with price, obviously, for how high it ranks products. So a lot of people do this listing optimization where they're targeting new keywords and then they immediately start running ads to those same keywords, without considering how mature their product is and what the competition on those keywords are like, and thus are potentially hurting their conversion rate and hurting themselves on other keywords as well, because Amazon looks at your overall conversion rate to look at, there's a weighted factor there on being placed high on some keywords that you're converting well on, but it also looks at your overall product conversion rate. So as an example of that, what I mean by how mature your product is, if you were selling, let's say, yoga mat, but you've niched that down and you're selling maybe a thick leather large yoga mat, right? That's your niche. But if you were just to target the keyword yoga mat and you have 200 reviews and all of your competitors have 3,000 reviews, yeah, you might appear there for PPC if you bid enough for the keywords, but chances are you're not going to have a very good conversion rate. You're just not ready for that keyword yet. And obviously, that's a negative. So Amazon will see that. They'll start penalizing you for other keywords as well. So that's my number one thing, is really focus on getting your conversion rate as high as possible.
Got it. And so how do you go about, there's obviously analysis within PPC that you can focus on to look at your conversion rate. But from a strategic perspective, when you're optimizing your listing, before we get into the detail of the PPC, what's a strategy around potentially, surfacing keywords that may be less competitive, highly relevant for your niche, but obviously decent search volume. Maybe not targeting some of those very competitive high search volume keywords, but potentially targeting some other ones that might allow you to have a better conversion rate and a decent review count on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the number one way is the tool we've developed for that. It's Keywords on Fire. It does an analysis on your competitors along with potentially your products, and we have a pretty sophisticated algorithm there that ranks those keywords in terms of what your overall opportunity on them is. Obviously, there's some judgment on that as well, right? You need to make an analysis of those keywords, and depending on where your product is, maybe you don't target the top keywords that have 100,000 plus search volume. Maybe you go in for the long tail keywords that best describe your product and have between 1 and 10,000 search volume. You're much more likely to rank and have a high conversion rate on those keywords if they are the ones that you go after, especially with, I'm talking about a product that's kind of maybe struggling. Maybe, that's probably why someone's going and changing the listing copy. They want to improve sales. If you're already a massive seller on page 1 for the main buyer keywords, you're probably not going to be changing anything. But for products that kind of need that boost, that's kind of the range of keywords that I would focus on. And as you get ranked on those keywords, and we'll get to the PPC section, but as you will get ranked on those keywords with a high conversion rate, Amazon will naturally start surfacing you on other keywords as well. And if you create your PPC strategy correctly, your overall conversion rate should maintain at for most products, maybe you're looking at between 10 and 20%. If you can kind of get to the 15% and up conversion rate, that's pretty good, and you'll start appearing on keywords that you haven't even necessarily put in your listing. That's one thing that we're seeing.
All right, that's a really interesting nugget. So I want to let's talk about that for 1 second, but then I'll come back to the overall strategy. But what do you mean by you'll start to appear for keywords that you don't even have in your listing?
Yeah, this is one thing that we've been working on, some research. Amazon is very good at figuring out what keywords you have a likelihood of being bought by a consumer for. And they have a lot of data on this. Probably the number one factor that they use is the actual subcategory that your product is listed in. If you kind of read some of the technical literature written by Amazon search algorithm developers, that's kind of what they talk about. Obviously, there's other things, and it gets into data science, and it's very complex. But at a high level, Amazon don't necessarily just look at keywords that you have in your listing directly. Um, they do something called semantic matching, which is that they're actually able to find the meaning behind the words. And for keywords which are close enough in likeness to the keywords you're already ranking for, you start appearing for those keywords as well. The main kind of lesson from all this is that we've been saying it for a while. You don't need to make a spammy title. Like that will hurt you. That will definitely hurt you. It will not help you, and it hasn't for a long time. Long gone are the days when Google ranked you just because you had the keyword 1,000 times on your webpage, right? They're smarter than that.
Yeah, so I want to sum this up for people listening right now. One is, don't freak out where you're like, oh my goodness, Amazon is ranking me for keywords I don't have in my listing. How should I be doing my listing optimization? The important thing there is, your job as a seller is still to guide the algorithm, right? And to ensure that you have included the right, most relevant, proper keywords in your listing, right? So you're guiding the algorithm, and then your job is to ensure that you get great conversion rates on certain keywords where people are searching and they're finding your product. You want to get your conversion rate up, which then triggers the algorithm to say, hey, you're successfully converting on these keywords. Let's start to give you some more juice. Let's get you better organic ranking, because us as Amazon are going to be making more sales off of your product. And hey, we should start to create a little bit more juice around some of these other terms, whether they're in your listing or not in your listing. We feel that these are some really good relevant terms that will drive more sales, and we want to give you some better ranking for this, because again, you as a seller are going to convert on these. You're going to make more money for Amazon. So that's the high level strategy. And an important point there that Stefan said on the SEO is that don't overstuff your titles, your bullets, etc. What we find works incredibly successfully is to broad, exact match on your key phrases, but broad match for a bunch of the most relevant terms, and you can write a really flowing, beautiful listing that is extremely professional, connecting with your target audience without overstuffing if you broad match for the most terms. So that's pretty much the strategy to follow. And again, if you clearly you want to have the most relevant high volume keywords in your listing, but if you can use a tool like ours, Keywords on Fire, to find some of those opportunistic keywords that either your competitors haven't found or that they don't rank for, that have decent to mid search volume, and you can really have those in your listing, and obviously use PPC to drive traffic to those and get better conversion rates. That's where you're going to start to trigger the algorithm. So that's the SEO piece. Now the theory is great. I've created an amazing listing that's relevant in a lot of ways. I've pushed that. Now the missed opportunity is not aligning that with PPC. So there's certain things you should be doing in your PPC campaign immediately after you've optimized the listing. And I want you to kind of step that through, Stefan, of like taking the use case of, hey, I've maximized my potential for SEO with a re-optimized listing, following all the strategies that we've talked about. And now, I've got my PPC. What are the key steps that we should be going through to really ensure that we can drive that conversion rate up for the right terms, etc.?
Yeah, as a high level overview of the PPC strategy that we use, we think of it as a funnel. So you want to start with keywords that you want to test for. on your products, and as you gain more and more comfort with those keywords, you want to potentially, put them lower down in the funnel, increase the bids, optimize the ACoS even more, and get those performing keywords to spend as much money as they can, because they're either making money for you or they're boosting your conversion rate and thus boosting your organic rank. For more
So just
specifics,
to interrupt
yeah,
there, but so to sum that up, after you've identified through the analysis, the data, and you obviously strategically identify keywords, but through the data analysis, you identify ones that are have a better conversion rate. You actually don't mind boosting the ACoS of those much higher, because the benefit of doing that is that you have a higher ACoS, but you're getting good conversion, which helps the organic ranking of those keywords, and then obviously triggers the algorithm to potentially rank other terms as well.
yeah, exactly. As an example, if I had a product that has about a 10% conversion rate, about average for Amazon private label, and my profit margin was maybe around 30%, and I'm just doing standard, I'm not doing anything crazy like Q4 optimization or anything like that. But if I'm just running standard ads, with a 10% conversion rate, if I see keywords on my PPC that have a 15% or higher conversion rate, I'm comfortable taking a loss on those keywords. I might increase their bids up to an ACoS of maybe 40, maybe even 45%. So I'm making a significant loss on those keywords. But as a trade-off of that, they're boosting my conversion rate and they're driving organic rank for me for those specific keywords and for other keywords as well. So that's one thing that we found.
And how long is that? How long is that process? Clearly, obviously, you most likely don't want to keep that at 45% ongoing, right? So how long is that process of optimizing those keywords to obviously watch what's happening with organic rank, but clearly understanding, hey, it's time to now optimize the ACoS on that, or is it never? You just keep that ACoS high on those high converting terms.
Yeah, I keep that ACoS high as long as I can. I mean, you don't have to go as high on every keyword. On some keywords, you won't even, Amazon isn't going to automatically have a CPC at whatever you bid. Sometimes you'll bid $5, but your CPC will actually be like $2.20 because no one else is bidding that high. And sometimes you can't get your ACoS as high, even if you wanted to. But generally, yeah, for keywords like that, I am at a net loss indefinitely because I know that overall it's it's a positive for my business.
Got it. So let's talk about. So you've got the one strategy of like, hey, we're finding these high conversion keywords. We're trying to boost them, keep the ACoS high. We're going to hopefully start to see organic rank going up for those and some other terms. But let's talk about the flip side of that, which I think is where a lot of people struggle, which is taking the emotion out of like, I should be converting for this keyword, and really looking at the data and saying like, hey, I'm actually not converting for this keyword. I need a negative match or take it out of my campaign. So what's your process in terms of helping to ensure that the keywords that you're testing, you give enough time for them to, match the conversion rate you're aiming for? And if they don't, how do you then get rid of it? So maybe you can talk through that process.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. We use statistics. I'm a math guy. I like to have kind of rules for everything and for everything to make sense. So I can show you a
Which, by the way, while
calculator
you're
that
bringing
we
that
built.
up, is a great point. Like, and it's a really important point for us as entrepreneurs. Is like when you have to make decisions that are important for your business, like PPC, etc. If you can rely on the data and take the emotion out, that's going to help you to really move forward and take action as quickly as you need to. So that's a good point.
Yep. So this is a calculator that we've actually just launched. What it does is it tells you how many clicks a keyword may have before it gets a conversion. That'll make sense in just a second. And just as a note, I mean, this isn't something we at ZonGuru made up. There's a statistical formula behind this. If anyone wants to look it up, it's called binomial conversions. Feel free to kind of Google for that. But as an example, again, a typical product of 10% conversion rate on Amazon. And I'm saying, how confident do I want to be with a sale? Now this, we've made it so you can pick kind of between 65 and 95% confidence, and I'll show you what each setting does. The default is 75, which works in a wide variety of situations. Personally, the way I do it is for campaigns that are higher up in the funnel, I want to negate keywords faster. So I don't need to be as confident. So I might be at 70% confidence. And that would be with a 10% conversion rate, it tells you 12 clicks. So on my, PPC automation tool, or if I'm doing it manually, when I see search terms that have gotten 12 clicks without getting a sale, I'm 70% confident that that search term will never get a sale.
So I just want to play that back for you, but right now we're talking about a strategy around keywords that are higher up in the funnel. So by higher up in the funnel, we mean they are potentially keywords that are being used by customers to maybe research the niche. They're not actually potentially looking to convert straight away. They're kind of looking around a little bit before they make their decision. They obviously are making a decision, but it's not as strong of a conversion keyword. And those we say, hey, if they converted 10%, maybe that's a pretty good number to have for those keywords. And we want to make sure that when we're looking at the data, we have a 75% confidence that that keyword, with that, after these number of clicks, that keyword would convert. So, you're not necessarily seeing the conversions come through in the data yet, but you're 75% confident that they should be converting. And clearly, if there's more than 12 clicks in this case, the chance of converting is not there, and therefore you should negate the keyword.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And for keywords which are further down, maybe, you've ran a discovery campaign for them, the keyword has converted. You want to boost the bids into a sales campaign. Sometimes, when you move keywords around from campaigns, things changed. Maybe, it was Q4, that keyword was converting. Now it's Q1, it's no longer converting. But, after you've already tested it, and you want to retest it, now maybe you want to boost your confidence percent to a higher percent. So maybe, on my discovery campaign, I might negate keywords at a 70% confidence, but on my sales campaigns, I might be at 85 or 90% confidence. And you'll see what that does to the number of clicks. So with 90% confidence at a 10% conversion rate, I would negate after 22 clicks instead of 12. So that's about double the spend, right?
Mm-hmm. But you would want to, in this case, if I'm following you right, you might want to have a higher conversion rate as the metric, right?
So typically the conversion rate that you put here is your average overall product conversion rate.
But if we're now focusing further down the funnel, we've obviously already gone through a product research campaign, a research campaign to potentially find them. We put them into a higher converting bucket. Potentially we would want to have a higher conversion rate than 10%. Is that right or wrong?
No, so the way that the calculator works is you want to put your overall products conversion rate, which you can get from your business report. I think it's called sales by child SKU or ASIN. And you can see that includes your organic, because you don't want to just be looking at your PPC conversion rate, because if you're only doing that, then you're kind of missing about half the data. You want to include your organic conversion rate into that as well. So you want your overall product conversion rate here. And with some keywords that we move to sales campaigns, they don't necessarily always have to have a very high conversion rate. And I'll explain that in a second. But yeah, so the conversion rate you want to use here is your overall product conversion rate.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, that's it. It's very simple. This is how you figure out after how many clicks you want to negate keywords with statistics. I mean, so if I want to be 95% confident, the reason we haven't put anything higher is the clicks get extremely high. I mean, we're looking at 10% conversion rate, but some products have like a 5% conversion rate, right? And what does that do to the clicks? 60.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not many people are waiting 60 clicks for a search term.
What about like a can you add a 15% there at like 80%?
15% conversion rate at an 80% confidence is 10 clicks.
Interesting.
Yeah, conversion rate has a pretty massive effect on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So in that case, I would be, 10 clicks is not that many, and you potentially would kill that keyword, right? So, okay, that's really interesting. So, it's the combination of PPC and organic that you've got to look at, which makes a lot of sense. And then, if you're getting more than those, how many clicks would you go above? So, are you pretty strict on that? Like if you're getting 12 clicks, and that's your confidence level to get 75, you negate it immediately, or do you wait for 13, 14, or it's literally at that point that you take it off?
Yeah, my ads are automated, so they follow the rules and they negate it immediately if the criteria is met. No judgment. You don't want to bring kind of feelings into it, and you kind of see a keyword that isn't performing, but you think, hey, this should be performing. Why isn't it? Just do it.
Yeah, and the interesting thing there is this is a systematic growth optimization stacking process, right? Which is, every week you obviously you have automated rules around things like this. You're obviously checking your own campaigns, you're making decisions, but those small decisions made in a fast, accurate manner over time really start to optimize and stack the campaign and give you consistent triggers and information to the algorithm, which is really going to help you to kind of move up the levels, right? So this is something that you're going to be doing over time. And people always ask this question. And I know it's about it depends on category, search volume, etc. But like, how long do you need to be doing this before you start to see results? Number one, we know if you've optimized your listings, you need to start figuring out aggressively which keywords you want to push on conversion rate for sure, get that ACOS up. But on this optimization process, how long before you start to see results?
So it depends very highly on conversion rate again. I typically start optimizing keywords after optimizing bids. So not negating keywords, but optimizing bids for keywords with a 10% conversion after about 5 clicks. We have a client that has a very low they're in a very high priced niche. The conversion rates are between 0.5% to 1%. And with them, we don't start optimizing until they've gotten about 50 to 60 clicks on a keyword, and we actually negate at 300 clicks, right? So you can kind of see the difference. So it's not so much a time-based decision, it's more of a click-based decision, and that boils down to how much money do you want to spend and how quickly do you want to spend it. But at a high level, to answer your question, if you take kind of average conversion rates of 10%, maybe you're looking to spend $5,000 a month on advertising. It might take you about 2 months to dial in a good chunk of your kind of best case keywords for your listing.
Great. Obviously, you start to see results there, but you're talking about full optimization, right? So this is a consistent optimization process that as a seller you need to be doing, each week and really optimizing bids, negating terms, stacking them, and importantly, what I want to also mention here is going back and seeing what search terms from the search term reports are converting on. Do you have that in your listing? If not, add that to your listing. Rerun keywords on fire sessions. we do a really good job of finding current localized keywords for the marketplace that are actually being typed in by customers, right? So especially as you're getting into the seasonal part of the quarter, rerunning those keyword sessions and seeing if it surfaces new current keywords that just weren't being typed in the month before, and then taking those out and putting those into your listing, right? So there is, this process of re-optimizing the baseline of your listings as well for your flagship products.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on that, what you said. Look at your search term report, see keywords that you're converting for well, and make sure that those are in your listing. A lot of people say that, but they kind of miss the point as to why you're doing it. A lot of people think you're doing it to feed the Amazon algorithm. If you're converting well, the algorithm already has you there for those keywords. You don't need to add it to your listing, but it is a good idea. But it's because it's for the customer. If the customer sees the exact search term that they typed in your title or in your bullets, that actually increases the chance that they will convert. So it's not an algorithm thing. It's for the buyer.
Gotcha. That's an interesting point. I would probably add to that and just say, like, on the algorithm side, it's still certainly it helps on the customer conversion side, but it still doesn't hurt to just have it in there, which might, down the road help the algorithm recognize it if something falls out or whatever. So I would definitely say, hey, always try and guide the algorithm by ensuring that you have the right keywords in your listing, so that you can give it guidance for whatever happens down the road. So it's definitely an important piece for sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic, Stefan. That was amazing. I even learned definitely a bunch of stuff on this call. I appreciate it. We have actually one question here, which was from Umar. What about the sponsored display VCPM ads? Is it a good strategy?
I think what he's talking about there is the view. I forget what it is, but Amazon have released a new ad type. I think it was recently, where you can run ads and you don't pay per click. You actually pay per 1,000 impressions.
Yeah.
Is it a good strategy? Wow. I mean, that obviously it depends on a lot of factors. It's typically not a good strategy for cost effectiveness if your goal is conversions. It is a good strategy for brand awareness, right? If you are kind of just entering a market or you want to gain market share, just to get your brand out there and seen by as many people as possible, it is a good strategy because that's what Amazon are billing you on, and that's what they'll optimize for. You'll get more people to see your ads, but you might get 1 million impressions and 0 sales, because that's not what it's being optimized for.
Yeah, it's similar to a Google Display Network, a GDSN, or whatever, where you pay by impressions. And I think that's a really good point. Like, I always say to people, hey, if Amazon's got a bunch of PPC placements because they all of a sudden at some point they realize that they're going to make a lot of money off of us pay to play, right? And they're going to put these out here. I would say anything that is new or in the space, it's absolutely worth trying as a seller. But I think understanding what is the right strategic reason behind it is really critical. And that makes sense if we're looking at brand awareness and you have some of your budgets which you can focus towards brand awareness, go for it. But clearly, if you're looking to really revamp a business, you're looking at low-hanging fruit, you need to focus on your conversion rate first, go for that, build that up, and then optimize. And that's the last point I would say there is, like, once you have a fully optimized campaign, there's clearly other things you should be looking at: click-through rates, images, other areas of ways that you can optimize to get more traffic. But you've got to start, especially making sure that you have the right structural play in place, which is starting with conversion rates on the right terms, and that's the right place to start. So, Stefan, thank you. That was amazing. This will be recorded. We will release this to our newsletter audience. If you haven't signed up for that, go to Zonguru. On the homepage, there's a button there. You can sign up for the newsletter. In fact, even on my LinkedIn, in my profile, you can sign up for our newsletter. And check us out. Come to zonguru.com. Feel free to talk to anyone in the chat, find out more about our different tools. And we do have a free trial on any plan that you sign up to. So feel free to jump in and sign up to that. And then in the chat, if you want certain SOPs, listings, keyword analysis, etc., we have step-by-step standard operating procedures that you can get and implement into your business and get prepped for Q4. So good luck out there. And Stefan, thank you again.
Thanks, John.